All right, welcome Mountain West fans to my mid-season check-in for the Mountain West. Before the season started, I did an in-depth preview of every single Mountain West team, predicted every single game, win-loss across the board, and I did an in-depth preview and discussion of each of those teams and what fans could expect for them going forward into this season. I highly suggest going back and watching that video, even though obviously the things have happened since then. It's not necessarily the same teams that started the year, but that is a very in-depth discussion about each of these teams and what they bring to the table. This is not going to be necessarily that level of depth. I'm looking to be closer to the 10 to 20 minute mark, maybe 10 to 15 minute mark on this video. Mostly on this, we're going to go through every single team, Air Force through UNLV, look at what these teams have done so far this year, especially compared to my predictions for these teams, and then we're going to just update the predictions here. What I think these teams are going to do going forward the rest of the year. I've been very, very good on my predictions overall, except for one team, which we'll talk about near the end. One team that I've been off on, but every other one, I'm within two for my overall win-loss predictions. Within 2 games for my overall win-loss predictions, and a couple of these, I nailed it exactly. I mean, every game I predicted so far going exactly as I predicted that it would. So we're going to go over all Air Force to UNLV, look at each of these teams, look at their overall record so far, what they've been able to accomplish this season, what we think they're going to finish the year out with, and what just the ceiling is overall for these teams in this conference. And we'll look at who I think is going to end up meeting in that Mountain West Championship game based on, again, halfway through the year, about 67 games played for most of these teams, what they've done so far, and how they finish the season. Now, it's not been a strong start for the Mountain West. Typically, the top group of 5 conference in the country. Can't really say that this year. Definitely a little bit of a step back. However, can finish strong, can get maybe some 10-win type teams, get those teams into a bowl season where they can perform well against Power 5 or Group of 5 teams. There's a chance the season to kind of redeem itself here. It's a chance for the conference to redeem itself here in the back end of the season. So let's start off here with Air Force. Right off the bat here, Air Force, a team that I projected going 8-4 overall. And I'll say, I'm having discussions with a lot of you on the Air Force Falcon football fan group run by Alex and Rick there. That really ruffled a lot of Falcon fans' feathers. There we go. That's some great alliteration. It wasn't even planned. Just kind of came off that way. That's the great content you get on channels like this. Make sure you like and subscribe. I think I earned it with that one. Anyhow, I had some discussions because that really ruffled a lot of feathers there because, a lot of people were saying Air Force could go undefeated. I mean, it wasn't just Air Force fans. I mean, there was a lot of people out there. ESPN's FPI, I think, had them favored in pretty much every game. I think there were a few games in the country, a few teams in the country that favored to win every single game that they were in. And I said 8-4. And you know what? So far this season, I have gotten that exactly right. So 5-2. 5-2. That's what I predicted. They're 5-2, and exactly the wins and losses that I predicted in every single game across the Falcons season so far. Now, again, I said that, a lot of people, when I said that Air Force was going to lose to Wyoming, they said, "Are you crazy? There's no way they can lose to Wyoming. They're better than Wyoming." And I said, "You're right. They are better than Wyoming." But Air Force always drops a game that they shouldn't, and that's going to be the game that they drop. And I was right. And so the Utah State loss, again, another game where Air Force was better than definitely better than Utah State there, and losing the game. So can Air Force find a way? They're going to play some teams later down this season that they are better than. I think they're better than the rest of the teams on this roster, on this schedule. Can they finish the season undefeated? Can they finish it strong? Now, I had predicted 2 more losses here for Air Force coming forward through the back of the season, and maybe I'm going to regret this. But Falcon fans, I'm going to make you happy today because I'm going to walk back that prediction here. Looking at the rest of the season, you've got Boise State, Army, New Mexico, Colorado State, and San Diego State. I honestly think, and I'm going to do with Rick and Alex are going to come on and help me preview the Air Force game. So I'm probably going to make this video come out just after that preview so I don't give away that prediction video. Make sure you go watch that video. It's going to be in the description link for this video. But I think that Air Force can beat Boise. It's a tough one. Boise coming up to play Air Force on the road. Obviously Boise State's offense much improved, but again, it's now a run-heavy offense. Falcons get up by a couple possessions. You don't have the passing game to come back and win the game for you late. So I think that's a tough one. We'll discuss it much more in depth in the video with Alex and Rick when they come on and help me preview that game. But when you look at the rest of these games here, Army's going to be tough. It's a rivalry game. Always is, no matter what Army's doing. And they're okay this year as usual. But the rest of those teams, New Mexico, Colorado State, San Diego State, shouldn't put up much of a resistance. I think Air Force finishes the year undefeated to go 10-2. Now, unfortunately, they've already lost 2 games in the Mountain West. So they are going to need some help to get to a Mountain West championship game. But I think that Air Force can finish the year here 10-2 overall and undefeated to finish the stretch. So change there, where I had Air Force losing a couple games there towards the end of the stretch. I think they're going to win out to finish the season and end up 10-2. Now, Boise State, you're going to have to wait, because I did a whole video. I just finished it today, actually, with Master Football. So actually, you don't have to wait. You can go watch that right now in the remarks section of this video. Go find that link, watch that video. That is the complete in-depth review of what I think the rest of the season is going to look like for Boise State. And since I just did a whole video talking about it, I'm not going to talk about it right here. So make sure you go watch that video and like and subscribe, like I said, to to Master Football, Jake Posey Master Football's channel. We did a great job just talking about what Boise State's done so far this season in depth, about an hour-long video, just really hammering away at what Boise State's done so far this season and what fans can expect the rest of the year. Games, statistics, postseason, talk about all of that. Make sure you go watch that video. All right, Colorado State. They're a team that I projected going 8-4, and I'm going to be way wrong. Now, so far, I'm not as wrong as I could be. I predicted 3-3 up to this point, and they're 1-5. So I'm still 2 games off on that. However, they're not going to get that 8-4. I had Colorado State winning a bunch of games down the stretch here. I think that they can win 2 more. I think the game against Hawaii is winnable. And also New Mexico. You know, Mike Norvell is a great head coach, and he's building something at Colorado State. They're going to be better, bring in some more recruiting classes. He's going to build something eventually, but it's just not meshing this year. They are terrible. They did finally pick up a win against Nevada a couple weeks ago, and they almost took Utah State down, which, again, not necessarily as good of a win as it would have been last year, because Utah State has just absolutely fallen apart. But I do think that Colorado State's got a couple of tough ones here. Boise State, San Jose State, Wyoming, Air Force, New Mexico. I think they will lose the 4 games in the middle with bracketed wins against Hawaii and New Mexico for a 3-9 record overall. All right, New Mexico Lobos. This was a team that I projected going 3-9. You know, gets kind of perennial New Mexico. Every once in a while, I mean, they're a basketball school. Everybody knows that. Once in a while, they'll pull out, a 6-7 bowl-eligible team. Once in a blue moon, but that's not going to be this season. I projected that at this point they'd be 3-4. They're 2-5. They're doing worse than I thought they would. I do think that they will continue to decline here. I mean, you look at the rest of the season, maybe they could get that win against Colorado State based on just how bad Colorado State is this year. But I think they're going to lose the rest of the games here, finish up 2-10. So 1 worse than what I projected for New Mexico. All right, Utah State, man, it is the second year in a row that the Mountain West champion has just completely unraveled. And if you want to count the Boise State season in 2020, where they came in 5-2, but they lost big time to BYU, if you want to count that as well, you probably could count that as well. So 3 years in a row, basically, that the Mountain West champion has just absolutely not been the team that they were the year before. San Jose State, obviously, last year, just completely not playing up to the COVID year, and then Utah State falling completely off the map. I mean, I think they were playing their 3rd or 4th string quarterback the other day. It is not the season that they wanted to be in Logan, that is for sure. So overall, 3-4 is what they're looking at. I was projecting that they would be 5-2. So again, only 2 off on that. I do think they can finish the year here with a couple of wins. Wyoming, I think, is going to be a loss. New Mexico and Hawaii, definitely games they can win. San Jose State, Boise State, I think both of those are going to be losses here. San Jose State looking much better this year than they did last year. Cordero, the transfer coming over from Hawaii, he's looked really good. I really liked him at Hawaii. So I think that Utah State, they've got some things to figure out. I'm not sure exactly what it is because they returned a lot of guys across the board. But they are really struggling this season. So again, 5-7 is how I see Utah State finishing out. Wyoming, all right, this is a team that I had going 4-8. So 4-8. They are currently 4-3. So they're definitely going to jump over what I predicted. Now, at this point in the season, I had them going 2-4. So, only 2 games off. But they are definitely ahead of what I thought that they would accomplish this season. Like I said, they have done a really nice job. I mean, really surprising job by Andrew Peasley, the quarterback coming over from Utah State. He has been surprisingly good. Swen, we knew was going to be good. He's been good. They just got a great head coach there. I mean, Craig Bull is one of the top coaches in the Mountain West. He doesn't always produce the top teams, but I think because it's really hard to recruit to Laramie, Wyoming. If you've ever been to Laramie, Wyoming, there is nothing there. I drove through Laramie one time, and there was a stadium, and you're going through this, like there's like a gas station and then boom, stadium. It's just like, why is there a stadium in this rest stop? So it's really, really hard to recruit to Wyoming. Obviously, a team that has been able to go out and recruit some great diamond in the rough players that Craig Bohl develops. He develops the guys that no one else is really looking at, and he finds their hidden talent and he uses it to their best ability. Obviously, Kansas City Buffalo Bills just played the day. So Josh Allen, one of those those recruits that he was able to bring in and just polish up to be that gleaming diamond that he ended up being. So Wyoming, a team that has had a much better year than I or anyone else was projecting me. Athlon Sports had them going 5-7. I think they're going to finish off the year very nicely here. They got Utah State, Hawaii, Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State. I do think that the last two games there, Boise State, Fresno State, will be losses, assuming that Jake Haener is back. I will say that if Jake Haener's not back, Wyoming can definitely win that game. But I think that they're going to win Utah State, Hawaii, and Colorado State to finish up bowl eligible here at 7-5. I'm very excited to see what the rest of the season looks like for Wyoming. All right, Fresno State. So we've turned the page here. We're now into the West Division. Looking at Fresno State. Now, this is a team that's hard to predict because I don't know what Jake Haener's recovery timeline looks like. These predictions I'm going to talk about. You got Mexico, San Diego State, Hawaii, UNLV, Nevada, and Wyoming. All of those could be wins if Jake Haener is back. And I'm going to go ahead and predict that all of those will be wins. I think that they will all be wins there to finish off the season, assuming that Jake Haener is back. New Mexico, their next game is New Mexico. So New Mexico is a game they can win with their backup. He should be good. San Diego State, that's a game where you start going, man, if you don't have your backup, it's a rivalry game. Things can happen there. Things can absolutely happen. So this is going to be a tough one. Their backups in, they're going to lose a couple of games on this slate. You've got San Diego State, Hawaii, UNLV, Nevada, Wyoming. UNLV looking much improved. Wyoming, a tough game. So if their backup is in, they're going to lose a couple of these games. But I'm going to assume that Jake Haener comes back either next week or the week after, that Fresno State, even without him next week, is strong enough to come in and win. I'm going to say Fresno State, undefeated the rest of the season, finishes up the year 8-4 after starting the season 2-4. I projected at this point they'd be 4-2. Started off the season 2-4, can finish the year, I think, 8-4, to contend as one of those teams potentially going to the Mountain West Championship game. We'll talk about that here at the end. All right, Hawaii, a team that I had not high hopes for. 4-9 overall is what I projected. At this point in the season, I thought they'd be 3-4. They're 2-5. What are we looking at the rest of the year here for Hawaii? Colorado State, Wyoming, Fresno State, Utah State, UNLV, San Jose State. Colorado State game could go either way, honestly. That I could see that being a win for Hawaii to get to that 4-9 record I predicted overall. UNLV, I think, is a game that Hawaii can also win there. I know UNLV has been a surprise team, but they've also lost back-to-back games or given up 40 points in back-to-back games. San Jose State and also Air Force, which are good teams in the Mountain West. I'm just not on the UNLV hype train. I'll be honest right now. We've got a couple more teams to get to before I get to them, but that's the team that I overlooked this year for sure. But it's UNLV. Come on. I don't think that they are going. They can have a magic fluke year, but they're not, I think, going to finish the season as strong as they have started. They've already started to crumble, started that decline. So I think that Hawaii has a chance here. Now, if they lose to UNLV, this is a team that could finish 2 and they got 13 games this year, so 2-11. So this is very, very important that they win against Colorado State and UNLV to stay in the 4-9 realm of things. Obviously, a major rebuild year for Hawaii after everybody left. Coach, players, everybody gone. It's been a major, major rebuild here for Hawaii. So hopefully some things kind of start to work together on the island. I like Hawaii fans. I really do. One of those kind of classic programs that's been around for a while, and you want to see them do well, and it's just not working out recently. So I think Hawaii's got a lot of potential going forward in the future. Who doesn't want to go play in a beautiful vacation spot? Hopefully they can recruit better in the future there. But this is a tough year. So I think finishing off 3-10 is probably more likely here for the Rainbow Warriors. All right, 4 more teams to go here. So Nevada Wolfpack. This has been, as expected, a very, very rough year for Nevada. And I thought it'd be a little better than it has been just because their schedule is so easy, but then you go and lose to Incarnate Word. 5-7 is where I had them going. At this point being 4-3, they're 2-5. They're 2-5, and honestly, I don't see them winning another game out the rest of the stretch. San Diego State, San Jose State, Boise State, Fresno State, UNLV. I think those are all going to be losses. 2-10 to finish the season. Let's move on. San Diego State. San Diego State is a team that I overlooked big time for my overall projection. Now, so far, I had them going 4-2. They're 3-3. So far, I'm not wrong. But overall, I had this team as being one of the better teams in the Mountain West. I thought that bringing in Braxton Burmeister was going to be a big success here for San Diego State. I liked, he was a quarterback that I thought was very competitive, a lot of grit at Virginia Tech. I thought he had some things to contribute here. He has not panned out as anybody thought he would. Definitely not the quarterback that is taking San Diego State to the next level or even keeping them at what they were last year. So San Diego State, they are terrible this year. 3-3 overall. I really don't see them winning a ton more games to go down the stretch. San Diego State's got to play Nevada, and then they've got to play Fresno State, UNLV, San Jose State, New Mexico, and Air Force. I think they can win against Nevada. I mean, that's a terrible team. San Diego State's not looking that great either, but I think that they're better than Nevada for sure. So I think they can beat Nevada, and I think that they can beat New Mexico as well. But the rest of those games there, even UNLV, UNLV looking improved this year. I think it's going to be losses down the stretch here for San Diego State. So I see them going 5-7. I totally could see them getting to bowl eligibility. I could see them pulling out one more win than what I'm predicting here. I could see them pulling off a win against a surprise team, someone maybe they're not supposed to beat, like San Jose State or Air Force or someone like that. I did have them originally winning against Air Force before they kind of went off hill. So I do think they could pull off a 6-6 and get to bowl eligibility, but it's going to be really, really tough. So I think 5-7 is probably a little bit more likely. All right, a couple more teams here. San Jose State, another team that I predicted perfectly. 4-2, 4-2, win-loss record across the board, exactly as I predicted every single game so far. It's a team I have going 8-4 overall in the Mountain West. I'm going to, just like Air Force, this is a team I'm going to walk back a little bit. I think San Jose State can finish the year much better than they started. Now, they did just lose to Fresno State. That was a huge loss. It was a loss I was predicting, but that was a huge loss because I think that might keep them out of the Mountain West Championship game if Fresno State can catch fire here, Jay Kana comes back, and they go undefeated. But if something happens, if Fresno State loses a game along the way, San Jose State right back in this thing, they can finish off the year here against New Mexico State, Nevada, Colorado State, San Diego State, Utah State, and Hawaii. Based on how those teams are playing, there's not a lot of challenges here. Originally, I did have losses against Colorado State and San Diego State predicted in the schedule, but Colorado State's not going to beat this team unless something crazy happens. It's just college football, anything could happen, but that should not present the challenge I thought it would. And San Diego State, I think San Jose State can definitely beat that team unless, again, they catch fire here towards the back end. I think San Jose State wins out the rest of the year here, just like Air Force, where I've nailed it so far. That's a pretty good sign there for Spartan fans, just like it was for Falcon fans. I've nailed your season so far. Maybe I can be right here the back end as well. I think they finish off the season 10-2, so a second 10-2 team for San Jose State. Now, it would be crazy. You got two 10-2 teams right now that I'm predicting. Before we get UNLV, they're not going to be a 10-2 team. So you got two 10-2 teams that I'm predicting for the Mountain West. And you might end up with two 10-2 teams not playing the Mountain West Championship game, depending on how the teams that are in their section play out. You've got Fresno State. If they go undefeated the rest of the way, they're going to go to the Mountain West Championship game as an 8-4 program over a 10-2 San Jose State team. And if Boise State finishes out the season undefeated, even if they lose a game to Air Force, so say Boise State drops a game to Air Force and drops a game to BYU. They would still finish out the year ahead of Air Force for the Mountain West Championship game because I believe the only Mountain West loss, whereas Air Force has got two. So you could have a situation here where you have a 10-2 team in each division, but the 8-4 programs go to the Mountain West Championship game. Let's finish up talking about UNLV, and we'll talk about that real quick. But UNLV, a program that has surprised me. They've surprised everybody. I'll just say that, but they have surprised me. I had them going 1-11. They winning against Idaho State, and that was it. They have played way, way better than anybody would ever expect from this program. A solid basketball school most years, but a team that I think if you went around Las Vegas and asked people, does UNLV play football? A lot of people probably would say, who's UNLV? So this is a team that is 4-3. I predicted them being 1-5 at this point. But they're 4-3. I was off by 4 games. So this is the team that I've been off so far halfway through the year. Everyone else I'm within 2 so far. This is the one I've been way off. 4-3. They finish off the year against Notre Dame. I mean, that's even if UNLV was a good team, that's going to be a loss. San Diego State, which I think they can get a win. I think they can definitely get the win against the Aztecs. Fresno State, if Hayner's back, that should be a win for Fresno State. Hawaii, that's a game that could go either way. I'm putting it down to Hawaii right now. I mean, Hawaii was able to come in and win against Nevada, so I think they do well in the state of Nevada, seems this year anyway. I think that they can come in, they'd be motivated, get that win. The UNLV maybe play to their normal style of football and take a loss there, but that could be a win easily. I mean, I might be hating a little bit more on UNLV than I should be. It's a team that I never even thought about before. In fact, the only time I've ever thought about UNLV was when I thought, man, it'd be really nice if UNLV went back down to the FCS and wasn't dragging down the Mountain West Conference anymore. Until suddenly everybody started talking about UNLV as a Pac-12 expansion program. And now I hate UNLV because that is absolutely stupid. If UNLV gets taken to the Pac-12, that will be the worst decision that anybody in the history of college football has made ever. So they're not an expansion team. Las Vegas does not care about UNLV. That is not a conference, and there's not a city that is built for college football teams. You don't have the traditional stability of the fan base. I mean, people come and go in Las Vegas. Professional teams that have national brands, that works. College football teams that rely on homegrown fans, people who've grown up their whole life around that team and then live in the local area, UNLV doesn't have that. So this is not an expansion team. Can we stop talking about them as an expansion team, even though they've gone 4-3? And I think they are going to get to bowl eligibility here. I think they are going to win against Nevada to finish off the season and win against San Diego State to get to 6-6. So I do have them finishing off the year 2-4, but 2-3. I do have them finishing off the season 2-3, but still getting to bowl eligibility. Which, when we talk about how historically bad UNLV has been, the last time they were in a bowl game was in 2013. That was also the only time in the last 22 years that they have had a winning record. It's also one of the few times, I think it's like 3 times, or maybe it's twice, in the last 22 years that they've even been bowl eligible. So in like 2003 or something, they were like 6-6. So that's it. UNLV has been the absolute dumpster fire of the program, and it is good for the Mountain West if their lower tier teams start playing better. I mean, that's you raises the quality of the conference overall. So technically, I like that UNLV is playing better. But I don't like that the dumpster fire program of the conference, perennial dumpster fire program of the conference, starts playing better and also starts getting hype to be a Pac-12 team. That would be the worst decision for UNLV's sake. It really would. I mean, UNLV would, if they play bad in the Mountain West, they will get destroyed on a routine basis. It'll be a new Vanderbilt. You know how well that works out for Vanderbilt. It'd be a bad move for UNLV. It'd be a bad move for Pac-12. I don't mind UNLV moving up and being better than the Mountain West, but staying in the Mountain West is where they belong until they've proven some things going forward here. But they haven't been able to do that so far. So I think they could finish better than I predicted, 6-6. I'll give that to them. I think they'll get to a bowl game, which is incredible for UNLV to be in a spot where they can get to a bowl game. But I do think that UNLV is kind of in a fluke season, like San Diego State was a couple of years ago when they came out of nowhere and won the Mountain West Championship, or Utah State when they had that amazing 10-3. Now this is a different fluke level where those programs are still then able to most of the time come back and sustain, and they've had good seasons. This is a definite fluke. This is like, better example. This is like when New Mexico beat Boise State that one year and went like 7-6 with the bowl season. That's what this is with UNLV. Great upstart on them to come out and play the way they have, but it's not going to last. So don't be hyping them to the Pac-12 because it's not going anywhere. All right, Mountain West champions or Mountain West. Who do I think is going to play in the Mountain West championship game? Well, I'm not. If you stuck around to the end, you've been a good watcher, a good listener here. I will tell you what I thought for Boise State. I think they're going to finish off the year and get to the Mountain West Championship game. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I think Boise State's overall, how they're going to get there, what their overall record is going to be, because you're going to have to go watch my other video that I did with Jake Posey to see that prediction video. But I do think that Boise State is going to get to the Mountain West Championship game. They're just set up to right now. They're the only undefeated team in the Mountain West Conference. They would have to lose 2 games and have the other teams, which I think is Air Force and Wyoming. I don't know if Utah State's, I don't think Utah State's really in the mix, but anyhow, Air Force, Utah State, Wyoming win out for one of those teams to win out for Boise State to not make it to the Mountain West Championship game. And they'd have to lose 2 games and also one of those teams to win out for Boise State to be able to not make it in. So the odds right now are really good for Boise State to make it in. Fresno State started off weak, but they beat San Jose State. That was huge because I think San Jose State is going to finish out undefeated. I think Fresno State, if Jake Haener comes back, is going to finish out undefeated. So Fresno State is going to have that one win over San Jose State. That's going to be enough to put them in the Mountain West Championship game. Now, San Jose State, if Fresno State loses one more game, because I think they could, if Fresno State loses a couple games here down the stretch, then it's going to be San Jose State representing in the Mountain West Championship game, rematch there of the 2020 season. Boise State versus Fresno State versus San Jose State would be a very, very interesting game. Either way, Boise State, Fresno State, Boise State, San Jose State, I think that you're definitely going to be seeing Boise State and then either Fresno State or San Jose State out of the West Division, which is not anything different from what I predicted. It's not going to be the way I predicted it, but Boise State versus Fresno State is what I predicted coming into the season, and I think we're probably going to see something like that. Though again, Haener not back healthy, could probably see San Jose State in there. Well, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. This was fun getting to look back at some of the predictions I made for these teams. Let me know where I got it wrong. Let me know where I got it right. Let me know what your predictions are. Let me know what you think your team is going to do this season. Do you the rest of the year? You know, what's the ceiling for your team? What's the overall record predictions? I want to hear from you. I want to have this discussion with you. Thanks so much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and go Big Blue.